we go.
Where do we start?
We need to start with the question that started it all, which was, it was about the TVA and where the TVA stood in the entire, timeline scenario. Because we were so confused about how the episode ended. Have you seen, does it matter about spoilers?
Do you care?
I have watched everything except, the bad, no, not the bad.
Did you watch the new episode that came out today?
No.
Do you care if we,
Go ahead, Girl Pops, go ahead.
Alright, so what ends up happening here, Martha, is that there is the timeline that is, in the show is all whacked out because there's, multiple Nexus events happening because Sylvie killed He Who Remains, right?
Uh-huh.
And this is a whole big issue, whatever. Well, the episode ends with the TVA, the militia of TVA, blowing up said Nexus, all of the timelines right here. So it can go back to one, okay?
Uh-huh.
That's what happens at the end of the episode. Now, the questions that we had is that Sylvie, she has been living her life on one of these, or so we think, because here's the thing. She's a variant herself, and therefore she cannot live on the timeline. Yet, at the end of the episode, she goes back to said timeline. But we rewounded this damn episode. We went back 2 parts. Several times. And it turns out there's only one line. Everything was blown up. So what the fuck did she go? And because, she's still a variant, therefore she should be ping, look, a fucking timeline. But it doesn't, so we're confused. Fuck! This is how it all started. And this is where we ended up. And you want to take over?
Okay. So
Yes.
we decided to rethink all the Marvel.
We gotta rethink
all,
things.
All going through it all. And then, so we went back to, was it Infinity Wars?
We went back to, it was before. So we went back to He Who Remains. We watched the clip where he explains how the TVA became to be and how he became to be and how he describes himself as the first variant, which that brought up a whole bunch of questions too, which I don't think we answered
those. How do you
those.
describe yourself as the first variant if you discovered
Exactly.
it?
So here's the thing. But there were some really nice clues here in that scene. First off, he explains how there are different universes stacked on top of each other like this, right? That was an actual scene, a very vivid.
He played it out with some clay.
With clay and stuff, right? So that was a thing. But then you saw a little man with a loop around him. But we'll get that in a second.
Yes.
That's something different. So we're looking at all these clues here and listening to what he's saying.
He also says that he created the sacred timeline for his universe. Meaning there are several timelines for each universe.
So he severed the line that connected the other universe. He was the one who discovered a way. Did he discover the quantum realm?
He had to.
He had to discover the quantum. We're going to do a little skip ahead. The quantum realm has to be this string theory here, right? The string that connects, because time is irrelevant there, based off of Scott Lang, based off of Michelle Pfeiffer's character Janet, from all that, right?
Actually, this started with me being there can't be 2 places because the TVA has no time relevance, and the quantum realm. Does that mean that the TVA is in the quantum realm?
Yes.
And she was like, no,
that can't be it.
They're 2 different places.
They're 2 different places.
It's really hard to believe that there's 2
because
different
we
places.
know what the quantum realm looks like. We've been there in Quantum Mania. It's all red and purples and all this. It's not and then this is where I came up with how the TVA was a figment of space of somehow.
Also, in the new episode, Brad is this isn't real.
Yes.
None of it's real. And
None
so we dug into that a lot.
Yes, we dug that a lot. We dug into that a lot as well. So what we came up here is that we established that the TVA and the quantum realm are 2 different places. They cannot be the same thing, even though they're both irrelevant in time. So
back to this. Quantum realm is, she made the what was it? The Horton hears the root.
No, that was late. We need to get to your. What did you say? What did I say before that triggered the 14 mil? What did I say?
Well, you were talking about how Doctor Strange was like, I have 14. There's 14,000 different.
Yes, 14 mil. Oh, Nexus event. So like we were talking about how the quantum. Okay, yes. So I brought up the quantum realm. I brought up Scott Lang and how Scott Lang was able to escape Thanos' snap. He was only in the quantum realm to what he thought was like 5 minutes, but it was actually 5 years, right? So he was able to escape that BS. And then what did I say about Strange? I said something about Strange. And the whole relevance of that shit.
I don't know.
And the 14 million outcomes.
I don't know what you said.
I don't know what exactly, but we triggered something that was mind fucking blowing.
So she brought up the fact that Doctor Strange said that there were 14 million different predicaments in which Infinity War ended, but only one could be. Remember that?
One could only be because their goal is to defeat Thanos. And there was only one outcome
in which they win.
In which they did. Yes, Tony dies, but their goal was not to save Tony, it was to defeat Thanos. Keep that in mind.
Remember that? Yes? From the movie?
You following?
Okay.
Alright.
So, I said...
Now listen.
Since the 14 different outcomes are different timelines, different outcomes. Does that mean that the TVA, like it happened 14 million times and the TVA obliterated all of them until they got it right?
You lost me for a second.
Okay.
Take your time for a moment, because it hit both of us.
Okay. So we're at Thanos.
Okay, this is the timeline. The war is happening.
The war is the whole Infinity Wars happens right here. Doctor Strange. Oh, go up here for a second. Right here. It's in 2019.
He's like
doing that whole bullshit motherfucking whatever.
And he's like, there's 14 million different outcomes.
There's 14 million different outcomes.
He sees all of these different outcomes, right?
All of them, right?
But only
one is the one that happens on the sacred timeline because Mobius said so in season 1. Loki makes the motion like, oh, so the Avengers can time travel, but I can't. And Mobius says that's because it was supposed to happen.
So this timeline is supposed to happen. Therefore, nothing else is supposed to happen. Therefore,
so all those 14 million outcomes, yeah, maybe some of them they time travel, some of them they probably didn't. But
none of them had the outcome
they wanted. The sacred time, no, not what they wanted, but the sacred timeline wanted.
Yeah.
So they blew it up.
So they blew up every 14 million time Nexus events, basically.
Gotcha.
And what we saw in the movie was the sacred timeline,
and then we somehow skipped over to the quantum realm.
We got back to the quantum realm because of reasons. But the fact that this is where we started losing our fucking minds, though. Okay.
So the quantum realm. Horton Hears the Who is,
that was much later though.
Yeah,
it was. We're gonna sum it up a little bit now.
So, say what you said about Horton Hears the Who.
So here's what well, technically Brittany said it, but but Horton here. So the quantum, our original theory here, because this was before the atoms, before this. I thought so. I was like, no, the quantum realm is its own place.
You said it was on this universe.
It was its own universe, own planet, whatever you want to call it, as if it was like a speck of dust. Like Horton Hears the Who's live on a speck of dust in Horton's universe, but the Who's only know of their universe as a world. They don't know they're a speck of dust in another universe. So that's what I said about the quantum realm. It's the same thing. Like the quantum realm is its own place, its own planet, universe within a universe.
So that's why we
have
decided
its
that
own
the quantum
timeline?
realm had to be on the timeline.
It had to be on the
It's just
timeline.
very small, which we summed up to the quantum realm is just atoms.
Yes.
And atoms
Okay, quantum, yeah.
Now, atoms, dude.
can bond. Atoms can bond.
Atoms make up everything. Everything. We're atoms. This is atoms. Everything is atoms. So we asked the question: is space made of atoms?
And then it took a lot of convincing, but we made Brittany use Google.
And what do you fucking know?
Only
98.8% is made of atoms. And I lost my damn mind because
Where's
guess
the other
what?
2%?
The other 2% is the fucking TVA.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And back to this.
Question.
Atoms.
Wait,
atoms.
question.
Yes.
Okay.
We're
So
pros now, so ask.
Atoms have space in between themselves and other atoms and electrons.
Yes.
Are you considering maybe that other percentage could just be the space in between atoms, or do you just want to?
That's where TVA is, in the space between.
Okay, go for it.
Oh
And
yeah.
also, since the quantum realm is atoms and atoms bond, that
And
bonding is
there
line.
has to be tunnels to get to said quantum realm because Scott Lang did it, Janet did it, hell, and the quantum man, they all got down there somehow, and they had to get out. So there are tunnels made of atoms. There are atom tunnels, and they're all interconnected, which means if we were saying that there's a quantum realm in every universe, just like ours on the sacred timeline, they're all connected by
that's
atoms.
how they travel
And that's
through
how
all
they
the
travel.
universes.
That's how the first variant, He Who Remains, was able to. He basically discovered the quantum realm
without knowing
it, perhaps. And he found other variants of himself in other universes through the quantum realm, through these atom tunnels. Are you following?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
We're doing.
how did we get to this subject?
Okay, let's just. I'll get in a second. So we've established the atoms. We established this. Now, our next. And this here. So you asked the question. Well, how does the TVA come in all of this? Well, atom tunnels. Well, they all just connect all the way. There is a tunnel. Oh, the doors. That's what it was. The TVA doors. The TVA doors. So it's like, I'm so excited. The TVA doors are able to go anywhere on the sacred timeline. And like, you asked the question, like, well, how do they get back to the TVA then? Through the atom tunnels. Like, those doors are just breaking through those atom tunnels through the quantum realm to get to another time on the timeline.
And also, there was a door from the TVA
Yes.
to the void.
To the void.
That's
But it's
how
like,
they got
yes. Yeah.
And then, didn't we start asking the question, what is the void? Because
Yeah, we
were
started
like,
asking
it
the
couldn't
question
be a
of the
circle.
void, but we figured
That's
that
how we got
out
to
later.
that.
That was like the last thing. That was the
Okay.
last thing we figured out. So we're gonna skip it. Well, okay, we're gonna move on now. All right, we established the TVA. We established the atoms in the quantum realm. We established all that. Now, what came up next was Loki himself. I don't know how we got to him per se, but what we had now, we had more questions now
because we started
about.
talking about the void, and then I was like, but it's a circle. And you were like, but it can't
It
be
can't be a circle. It can't be a circle. Yes. Okay, so this is when the little man comes into play. And you said that like there's a little figure, whatever, on his desk about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, about this. Yes. So I said it cannot be a loop. And here is why. Because. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Oh my god.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Also, this took us like under an hour to all do.
It took us I'll say an hour. It took us an hour to do all this. Okay. All right. Oh my god. So, we started with Loki taking the Tesseract in Endgame, okay? When he took the Tesseract, he became a variant because he was not supposed to do that. Now, that opens the question to up here. Now, are you following?
Yes.
All right. I'm not gonna stop for a moment. That's why I'm asking. So if you have questions, save them to the end. All right. So Loki takes the Tesseract right here. This is okay. We're just moving up here. This is still the same timeline. Loki takes the Tesseract. That triggers Tony and Steve going back in time to 1970 to get a new Tesseract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was supposed to happen, per se. Well, that opened up a question now, because it cannot be a loop. And here's why. In 2012, we saw what happened. Like, we saw the Battle of New York. We saw Loki get defeated. We saw Thor taking him back to Asgard and all that, right? That happened in 2012, what we saw. We move forward in time, we see Loki get killed by Thanos in 2019 in Infinity Wars. That happened. That happened right here in 2019. Okay? That's also when we saw Strange in the 14 million whatever, right? So, that timeline happened. We go to 2023, and Loki takes the Tesseract, and shit happens anyway. Okay. We gotta go back down to here now, because now this opened the question, so was Loki meant to take the Tesseract then? That cannot possibly be it. It cannot be a loop, if that's because that contradicts with what we saw in 2012 like the Avengers movie. That contradicts everything. So we had to ask the question, was Loki supposed to take it or not? Yes. Okay. You want to take over?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm moving over to her. Go for it.
Loki becomes a variant here. But back to the statement, it was supposed to happen.
Yes.
So, if Loki was supposed to take it in order for all this to happen, technically he wouldn't be a variant.
Yes.
Because it was supposed to
happen. So was he supposed to take the Tesseract or not?
And so I was saying this is basically a prerequisite for this to happen.
Yes.
Loki not taking it is a prerequisite for Loki to take it later when they go back. So therefore, when he takes it, okay, wait, where was I going?
We had to come back to this point. We had to come back to the point of Loki still gets killed. Like him,
Yes.
He's still, like, it has to reset in order for him to go back to 2012 and live out the rest of his life.
Once someone becomes a variant, you have to reset the timeline.
Yes.
But how do they reset it?
Yes.
If Loki gets killed later?
Yes. Because they reset it and it moves on, right? Right here to 2019.
So that brought up the question, or brought up the statement that it cannot be a loop.
It cannot be a loop.
If it ends and just resets.
And resets.
And then we started thinking, well, where does it reset to?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was saying, in order for there not to be gaps, it has to start from the beginning.
Yes.
And so, since it starts from the beginning, it's not a loop, but rather when he takes it this time, it starts a new timeline in which Tony and Steve go back.
Yes.
And since they can't continue, the TVA destroys this timeline.
Yes.
And it becomes part of the void, being the end of time.
Now here's the thing, though. This timeline up here, right? We'll go back then. So this is the sacred timeline. This is Loki taking the Tesseract, and then of course Steve and Tony and all of them having to go back to get the other Tesseract. It branches off like a Nexus event, and becomes the new sacred timeline, because he who remains is the one who controls it all. He's the one who decides, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm incorrect, we need to find out. He's the one who decides what is to happen, like what is supposed to happen. And so he has the power to say, like, oh, Loki taking it. Because what happens when Tony and Steve go back? Steve sees Peggy Carter again and realizes that he wants to go back and live his life with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tony also goes back
Sees
and
his
he
dad,
meets
and
his
he gets
father.
awesome.
He realizes what he's doing is all for and all that, right? Only because Loki took the Tesseract, even though he was not supposed to. He was supposed to live his life and get killed by Thanos. Well, then He Who Remains sees this. He just, instead of, I guess it creates the illusion that the timeline was reset, when in fact, the next event became the new sacred timeline, and then this old sacred timeline becomes the void.
Okay, question.
Yes.
So, but they say the void is at the very end of the timeline. Does that void?
The void,
Since
it
it's
just
obliterated,
gets
it
gets
is
sucked
ended.
in. It just gets sucked into the void.
Gotcha.
Because since it gets obliterated, it
Yes.
is then ended, therefore being the end of time.
Yeah.
It is just the end of that timeline.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
like
Okay.
it gets reset. Like it no longer. It just it travels up to this new sacred timeline.
So it's not really a circle, but rather a ladder.
It's a ladder. It's
So
not.
speaking
It's
of
not a
that-
loop. It's a ladder connected by rungs.
Okay, but thinking of atoms, right?
Yes.
Would they have? Actually, no, that's stupid.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, honey,
Okay,
dude.
Do you know
so
how many
because
things
thinking of
we
atoms is it's destroyed, right? Does that eventually increase the amount of like? You got to break the doors that already led to that area, or do I forget how the doors work exactly? Can you like put in a place, or does it just one door takes you to a certain point?
Are you talking about the TVA doors?
Yes.
So we came up with this whole thing because you're going through time and all this. The TVA doors are going like you don't see it, but we think that it's using the quantum realm because the quantum realm connects everything through these like atom tunnels. That's what we're thinking. That's what we're thinking.
But in order to destroy that timeline, you have to destroy the tunnels that are connecting to it, which means all those people.
Well, if it's a
like, all
void.
those- yeah.
Well, I don't
And
think
so-
we ever asked the question of what is the void, or even if it is the void irrelevant of time? You know, is it like the TVA, where it's outside of everything?
Also, another quick question: are these tunnels of organic form? Because if they are, they could be killed, turned into something decaying, which could be the void.
So the void is just decayed atoms.
It's decayed atoms.
Which is possible because uranium literally it loses stuff.
I think you're onto something, Aiden. See, you're on our level of crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, things are happening. Oh, things are happening. See, and we have now established that Marvel has not thought this through. You know, they did not think
Yeah.
any of this through.
I think this is just a
we
subject of
were just so
overthinking everything.
how it all started is how frustrated we became because nothing made sense anymore. We're literally trying to figure out the physics and the actual existence of what they are trying to create in the MCU. This is what we're doing right now. We're like asking and now answering these questions that they should just explain anyway, but they don't because I don't think they actually know. I don't think they know.
So technically, back to the question that we asked, where
Yes.
Sylvie went.
Yes.
Did Sylvie just jump into one of the old timelines from before it was obliterated?
Because then it would just go on. Oh my god! Wait!
If there's
Holy
the
shit!
finale, is it the finale?
Hi, the girl. Oh my god! We did it! Oh my
Hey,
god!
quick question.
Yes.
Okay, so if she's going back in time, could she find Loki before he even enters the TVA?
Possibly.
And then alter the timeline further, and then the new timeline become the void before it even happens?
Possibly.
She probably could. But honestly, I don't...
She didn't want to see Loki.
No.
She didn't want to see him. She
literally wanted nothing to do with anything in the timeline.
No, she really wanted... She wanted to ruin everything and then go live her life working at McDonald's. That's what she wanted to do. So that's what she did. In 1980 something.
And then everything fucked up and she was like, well, y'all guys suck.
And then she blamed TVA. I was like, the fuck, girl? You did this. Anywho, that's not the point. But like, it's like, I think we did just answer. Because like, yeah. As long as...
Because also, the TVA would not be looking.
No, but then that does beg the question. Remember we did ask this question. We asked the question, like, let's say this is true. She still is but here's the thing. With all the timelines now obliterated, it's supposedly back to one, even though she went back in time to 1980 and did the whole job thing and whatever, even if this is true, remember she spoke to the guy and nothing happened?
What if instead of a ladder, okay, so it's this one, and then what if it like weaves in somehow? Like, instead of, I can't really draw it, but like...
Sinusoidal.
What if it just weaves itself to being one?
You know what? That could possibly make sense. Because you know like how like the visuals of the timeline we've seen is all kind of a swirl anyway?
Yeah.
That could possibly be something. I don't think every Nexus event that happens is a Nexus event. I think the TVA could possibly just be like over-exaggerating a lot. So even though, yeah, nothing's triggered. Well, also the TVA is super triggered right now, so they probably can't even detect her. Because there's no destruction and no whatever and stuff. So, like, they wouldn't be able to...
Also, I think we skipped over this, but we decided that Loki becoming a variant is a canon event in every timeline.
Yeah. I think that is... Yes, we did not mention that, but we talked about that. We did talk about that.
Because he has to become a variant in order for another timeline
to start. No. That's no longer relevant because we established him becoming one... A new sacred timeline is created. So even if he doesn't, sacred timeline still like this. Like here's the sacred timeline. If he doesn't take it, right? Here it is. So technically, that's no longer a thing.
But this is just a prerequisite for this.
No. So like, this only happens because Tony and Steve and Scott went back in time, and Bruce and all them. That's all. If they never went back in time, this event still happens, this event still happens.
Yeah, but...
And then this event still happens. This is the sacred timeline right here. This part is this, okay? Mm-hmm. It's still happening, whether he takes it or not. Or when he did not take it. Here, and here is when he takes it, comes across new sacred timeline. So he does have to take it in order for this to happen. If it doesn't happen, this just continues on. Yeah. And this continues on. So he does not actually have to do it. I'm getting that right? Or am I missing something?
Okay. So the way you drew it, it looks like it starts a new past.
Ignore that. Yeah, no. It's more like this. It's more like this.
Gotcha, okay.
It's more like that. But like, here's the thing. So basically, this just moves up, I think. Because you still see one line. But like, it could be an illusion. Like for the TVA, we just see this BS on the screen. But it could just be an illusion when something breaks off and whatever, and they reset and it just becomes one line again.
But also, isn't Miss Minutes the one that like helped create all of the technology for it?
Miss Minutes was technically created by He Who Remains.
And technically, He Who Remains wants people to know that it is one sacred timeline.
Yes.
Therefore, he would project the screen to make it look like one.
Yes. I think you're right.
Propaganda.
But also, he's
Also-
dead.
He's dead
Okay.
now.
If they went back in time, because I know they don't look at it, like they don't give us a giant history update when they come back, but by taking all that stuff, because that was like Red Skull's like whole thing, the Tesseract. That was Red Skull's whole thing. Could Nazi Germany like what was the repercussions of that? Because that was like a whole Nazi Germany uprising Reich thing.
What are you talking about?
He's talking about like so in the very first Captain America movie.
Yeah, but that happened
Red Skull
before.
wanted. That happened in 1945 or what? 44.
Yeah, that
or
has
whatever
no
it is.
relevance to this yet.
To
So that happened a long
well,
time
this in
before.
particular, but he has a point. Because I mean, when Red Skull, like, let's say Captain America actually failed and Red Skull got what he wanted, would that have been a Nexus event?
And then maybe the new if say Captain America died, like Red Skull killed him, right? When he wanted to, he got the bombs off, whatever.
Oh my god, I just thought of something.
What if Captain America coming back turns Captain America into a variant? Because Captain America could already be dead. And I'm only saying Captain America because they specifically changed that outlook. Did Captain America actually get frozen? Because the only reason they went into that bomber was to escape.
Let's just focus on Loki for a second.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, sorry.
See, you asking that question, that also asks questions about literally every single Marvel movie ever made.
Well,
But then
they're all
again, I
connected.
guess that's what we're fucking doing right
But
now.
also, that would be
Because everything,
not supposed to happen. Therefore,
yeah,
the
everything
TVA would
we have
obliterate it.
seen up until this point, like the MCU, has all meant to happen because of the sacred timeline.
And if it wasn't supposed to happen, then the TVA would have obliterated it.
Obliterated anyway. We would not have seen it because first off, it didn't exist. Secondly, it's like we just see the sacred timeline. We just see all of what's happening. That's why Endgame happens the way it does, because according to Mobius, it was supposed to happen.
Are the comic books separate timelines?
The comic books are all the multiverse. Like the reason why we have the multiverse anyway, like why the MCU is actually like taking on this insane project, is because all these comic books, like, you know how many damn Captain Americas have been, like, adaptations of Captain America there have been? How many adaptations of Spider-Man? Like, I mean, the Spider-Verse, like those two movies they're the ones who are like. And even No Way Home. Like, No Way Home even touched on this. How, like, there are variants of everybody. There are variants of He Who Remains. We already knew that. There are variants of Doctor Strange from into the Multiverse of Madness. There are variants of everybody.
Would that make, like, Tobey Maguire and all of them variants?
There are variants of Tom Holland. They're all Peter Parker.
Yes.
Yeah.
But would that make them variants? And therefore, would the TVA
No. Ooh.
obliterate them?
Unless it was supposed to happen. Like, again, like, it's supposed to happen. Like,
So are these those parts that are weaved together because they're supposed to happen in order for the timeline to happen?
that happens.
So they're
You're
weaved.
not even like No Way Home. No Way Home probably should never have happened. No Way Home should have not happened when Tom said that when Tom Holland, Peter Parker, said he wanted everyone to forget he was Spider-Man. That should have been
Because
that should have been
TVA,
a
Doctor
Nexus
Strange.
event on its own.
Unless it was supposed to happen.
Unless it's supposed to happen, which when it does, all the villains from different universes come to his.
Weave together.
That's the weaving
Oh
effect.
shit!
And then the other Spider-Man.
That's
Well, because so but here, so what you're saying is like every sacred timeline in every universe is connected, which is like what we established, right? So is that the weave? Is this also a weaving scenario?
One messes up, they all have to come together and form a new timeline before they can split off again.
That makes sense, right? Like,
because okay, so say all those portals that they come in to like kill Thanos at the very end, right? Are not the same multiverse. They're not the same. Like, how do I say this? Every single timeline, the big timeline, the sacred timeline, there are multiple of them, right? So is the same thing happening in each one, just like with slightly different people?
It has to.
Could they accidentally have converged multiple timelines with those portals, creating an entire timeline of variants? And then that could have been the new timeline where they all just converge together. And then we don't see any of the other timelines, so they could have been completely reset.
When did No Way Home happen?
No Way Home.
Did No Way Home happen after or before first season of Loki?
Before.
No! It happened after, when the TVA was fucked up. There was nothing to keep the variants from coming in.
When did No Way Home came out in December 2021, right?
No, 2022, I think.
No, it wasn't that late. It wasn't last year. It was 2021.
Oh yeah, because we had the other Spider-Man movie after that.
I think No Way Home came out after Loki.
Yeah, it did. It came out after Loki because I watched it with my mom.
So it was fucked up.
The TVA was fucked up, so there was nothing to keep the variants from getting in or keep them out.
No, but we don't actually know that. You know why? Because Loki that got taken was in 2012. But the TVA time is irrelevant. Like, Spider-Man No Way Home takes place in like let's just say 2020. Well, technically it's 2024 because
Wait, but when did they kill the one who remains?
That's the thing though. Technically it's in 2012. Because that's when Loki was taken.
But also the one who
But time is irrelevant here, so it could have been any year ever. What I'm saying is that No Way Home took place in right here, like in 2020.
What if?
4.
Okay, so this is where they killed He Who Remains, correct? Let's just say that. What if they used this to jump ahead? And so the timeline is all messed up, and that's where all these extra timelines are coming in to the portal. And the machine can't handle it because it's getting confused.
Oh, from like the temporal Oris or whatever it's called? Maybe? I feel like we need to rewatch that episode now.
If there are so many doors, it wouldn't be too hard to open them.
Here's the thing. I feel like we need to rewatch a few things. First off, you haven't even seen Quantumania. I feel like this will answer a few questions. I feel like we need to rewatch Multiverse of Madness. There's several things that we need to rewatch and get like a solid ground.
Need to watch No Way Home now.
No Way Home. Well,
Why don't we just have like
No
a
Way Home
party
happens
of, like,
after
watching movies in
Endgame.
order?
Endgame takes place in 2023, so it's after the fact. Like this actually happens here. Like, on this timeline. So if that's the fucking case, oh shit. If that's the fucking case, then it's a whole other situation where like a new one is like.
That's
what it is.
That's where the weaving comes in.
Yeah.
And there's so many things happening that they're trying to fit on one timeline.
On one timeline.
That the machine
like if there are too many rungs happening at one time or something like that.
Like say it's like a spinning wheel. If you put too much thread on the spinning wheel,
yeah.
the thread will.
Okay.
It won't be gold. That's.
Question. Okay, so you know how, so it's major timeline, major timeline, major timeline. Draw some space in between three. Instead of one, because in the show they showed it was one timeline and things branched out from that.
Yeah, like
what
this.
What if it's timelines coming together and forming new sacred timelines?
But that wouldn't make any sense, because that would be multiple sacred timelines at one time. There's only one timeline. There's only one sacred timeline.
He says that in the show.
He says that in the show. There's only
one.
one.
Of them in order to create one single timeline.
Yeah.
To end the universal war.
But if only one, like what we said from here, like our theory is here is that if, like, let's say Loki, a variant, does a next event, but is supposed to happen, even though he's still a variant, it's still considered a Nexus event, it creates one new timeline. He who remains decided, yes, that's going to be our new sacred timeline. Like, he has to decide that, though. Because, like, all these other ones can happen all they want, but he's like, no, those not be the sacred timeline. Like, you got to shut those down.
Also,
question.
So this is where he who remains.
Okay.
He died.
Yes.
Therefore, since time is irrelevant here, it has no effect on this. So as soon as he dies,
he can no longer
determine what is supposed to happen.
Yeah. He can know. Yeah.
So
that's why all these timelines happen in the first place, and there's like all these Nexus events, and they're just creating more timelines. And like the machine or whatever that place, like where the TVA is, that place cannot handle multiple sacred timelines.
Mm-hmm. Now you can say your question.
Okay, so you know how he wants to make people think that like he's very good at like lying and like propaganda, like that kind of stuff. Like he does what he wants people to see.
Mm-hmm.
What if he didn't actually end up killing all of the other himselves, right?
He didn't.
He didn't. Because in Quantumania,
they're
see the Council of Kong.
Okay. So, technically, there doesn't have to be one sacred timeline. They could all have their own.
That's what we said. Like, every universe has their own.
That's what I meant by the sacred timelines, like, above each other and below with the space. And then they converge to make new universes and more Kongs, creating more variant Kongs.
With the Kongs? Because it was like...
Yeah, but there was some connections here and there. Like, there was like a here or like a there.
Yeah.
Maybe. But like that place where they were is like the TVA. Like, it's its own place outside of everything. That place that we saw.
It is late.
My cat's just chilling.
I think we need to call it. We're obviously not going to be sleeping tonight, so.
Yeah. That was smooth.
That was epically smooth.
That was super smooth, yeah.
That just shows you how tired we are.